So some of you are going to ask why I bothered, but I decided to spend some extra time with Higher Gun, just in case my overall impression was wrong. The developers, the same guys who did Space Hulk Deathwing, I pronounced it right, you can stop now, clearly love and care about the 40k universe. Yet, if you ask my thoughts upon their game, it's just okay. Not great, not fantastic, not bad, not awful, just okay.
And
all the lore is there. All the set pieces, the various way the characters speak, the things they talk about, very much 40k. The posters about joining the Imperial Guard kill teams and the recall of the Nihilist pattern lasgun. Other little pieces of the background and the music and everything about the game that gives you the atmosphere of the Underhive in 40k is there. The way you punch it in the face to negotiate with servitors. The way Gangers talk versus how nobles talk. The Adeptus Mechanicus adept who's basically machined into the wall and stuck there in the Underhive. And therefore the only thing he can do is be a merchant to do gun modifications. It comes together and creates a proper setting for 40k that I can't deny, I can't reject. The color palette definitely reflects what you would expect. But you can never quite tell certain things about the game, and other times the game just leads to frustration. I can never clearly see how many enemies they are unless my Auspex implant, which is a random chance, detects them. And it's very difficult to gauge in a lot of encounters. You get lost because the color palette simply isn't complex enough. And the lighting system isn't capable of displaying subtle differences in hues of colors to make sure enemies are visibly lit up on the background. Even when they're shooting sometimes, it is difficult to actually tell what is background and what is the target that's trying to kill you. And oftentimes, I simply didn't realize how many enemies were around me. Not that it actually mattered. You see, the game has two difficulties. Wolfenstein's Daddy Let Me Play, and it's so breezy easy you probably shouldn't be playing on it. And the other difficulty, where even Dark Souls asked you to tone it down just a wee little bit. This last of two boss fights has a boss that just, well, if you aren't careful, just kind of one-shots you. Two shots if you are careful. This is the thing with Higher Gun. It basically is out of actual new things to throw at you by the last three missions. And instead just throws increasingly unfair and unapologetic numbers at you, or bosses that have straight up mechanics that are not even remotely overcomeable. Just playing it on screen now, and it's clear to me the last three chapters of the game were very rushed and lacked playtesting. I at one point am literally locked in a 100-meter cube box against multiple larger enemies and enemies with spray AoE weapons, so even dodging doesn't promise my survival. The arena has also a console in it to buy stim packs, which revive you to full health. This means that despite this being an incredibly difficult area to go through, since the game pauses when you interact with any form of merchant, including the in-mission merchant boxes that you can buy stim packs from, you can simply slop your way through this if you have enough money. But also, if you actually die and respawn, all the money you spent and all the bullets and items you used are actually gone. You don't get those back. Instead, when you respawn with a stim pack and full health and whatever you had left past that. The problems persist in these later three levels. Shit!
Oh, wow. You know, this is the first time I've actually been live on a stream.
Glad you can be here for my talk.
I'm glad to lend you moral support.
No!
I am glad to lend you my moral support. Although I don't think it helps much here.
Get off my...
Oh, well, they just came right out of the ground. Although I take it that happened a little bit ago.
I'm not letting off this trigger. Just stopping to buy the stems you need as you run out, except these final two bosses. Of the 3 boss fights at the end of the game, I am genuinely disappointed in all 3 of them. One I played on stream, and the other 2 I played here on the recording. The other boss fights and extremely challenging areas were done very well, and the challenge made sense. I was genuinely surprised that it constantly had new things to throw at me up through Chapter 10, but then the last 3 chapters just kind of mutedly hurl huge amounts of enemies at you, and that's all they can do. Up through Chapter 10, you run into Gene Stealers. You actually go down into the Underhive and find like a full-on Carnifex skulls and Tyrannid bones in a Gene Stealer called In Progress with actual full-blown Gene Stealers. At the very start of the game, you fight an Ambot with just a basic shotgun, pistol, and autogun. The first Tesla Ogren is played up to be something fantastically difficult, and the Tesla Ogrens will give you trouble throughout the entire game since their attacks are not only at the speed of light, i.e. hitbox or hit skin, but also they're a continuous attack that they can change the direction of as you try to dodge. Yet at the end of the game, it is a total letdown disappointment. I am interrupting my own video before the disappointment explanation. What? I have to give you something to look forward to. This wasn't it. So first off, our For the Algorithm March has resulted in a total of 86 comments across my videos so far. Let's see if you guys can really blow that out of the water, shall we? Remember, comment ... for the algorithm. Let's just keep this up because it's actually working. Next, Adeptus Sororitas video will be released next week. I know I promised it this week, but at the same time, I have other priorities that have to be done. I have to finish my book. On an unrelated note, yes, the Fallout Equestria Part 3 book, yes, that book, will be finished and ready to print by the end of next week. And your pre-orders will close on July 5th. Link in the description below. You should also have received an email on your pre-order if you've already made one to verify your address. Just to make sure those get to the right people. Death Watch. You guys loved it. You guys came and you ate it up. The whole adventure, you dropped 56 fate points, 6 hordes, 18 elites, and 3 master enemies upon them without mercy. And honestly, they barely made it through that, even with you guys constantly bombarding them with additional fate points. The real question remains in the new adventure I'm preparing. Will you be their salvation or damnation? Death Watch returns July 4th. Prepare yourselves for a marathon. We're doing it again. Because you asked us to. We're also still running our weekly RPGs, Fallout Equestria, RPG, and Dungeons and Dragons. You can see the times and dates for all of those on screen right now. So remember, smash the like button and type ... for the algorithm in the comments section to see if this video can get the same kind of love that my Imperialis Politicus does. Now back to the review. The first boss is just cheap. You fight her, where she is 100% truly invisible. Not invincible, invisible. And you can only see her by the streaks of plasma flying at you. In her second phase, yes, most all the bosses have 2 phases, she causes smoke around the entire arena with 2 ambots. You know, those big guys that have plasma guns that they shoot at you in addition to AoE missiles and all of its AoE but splash damage? Yeah, those guys. Now here's the really fun part about all this. The smoke reduces your vision to 1 meter. But her and the ambots can still shoot at you as though they're uninhibited. It is a confined arena, so even dodging doesn't necessarily save you, as if the explosive rounds they fire hit something nearby, you still get hit. The enemies have perfect vision to see through the haze, and will lay down massive amounts of fire without you being able to tell exactly where it's coming from, and if you kill the ambots, it just spawns more! The only way I actually completed this was the boss glitched and couldn't actually fire her gun. There's a difference between Dark Souls and simply unfair. The second of these 3 series of bosses has multiple attacks that are a fraction of a second movement dodge dependent and can hit you with these melee based attacks in mid-air or in mid-dodge. He ignores your normal invulnerability frames. And each of these attacks can potentially one-shot you on the hardest difficulty. You will die to Shadowhand numerous times. He is also the only boss who has 3 phases. Guess what? If you die at any point, you start over with a single stem, none of your equipment that you purchased, so no grenades and no first aid kits, and hope you get through it. He's incredibly cheap with the outright ability to one-shot even fully upgraded characters. And the third boss, in comparison to how extreme these 2 are, is literally a joke. This is the last boss of the game. What you're seeing on screen right now is me killing her. I am killing her by standing in her face where she will attempt to melee me, constantly holding the W key so I keep moving forward through her melee attacks. I think I actually glitched into her at some point and we couldn't separate, and just emptying the magazine of a heavy bolter into her. And because my health regeneration from the heavy bolter is outlasting her damage output, she will die. This is how I also discovered that she outright takes 8 heavy bolter drum magazines to kill. I begin to wonder with these last 3 bosses if they would actually die from the volume of damage I was putting into them. Turns out they have health bars that are several thousand hit points long.
It's yours. I'd like to say it has been a pleasure.
Kinda weird that you would give a boss that much HP, and in the rest of the game none of the bosses would have anywhere near that kind of hit points. They did the same thing with Shadowhand and the previous Invisible Girl. And there comes a time where you begin to wonder, are my shots actually hurting you? Because I can't tell anymore, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do something special, and then they finally just drop, and you're like, oh, no, that was actually hurting them. I played this entire game on the hardest difficulty setting, so you are aware I have the achievement for the hard win. I understand there are more items in this game, but at this point I'm kinda sick of playing it. The weapon customization is great, the story is mediocre, the number of different weapons is wonderful, but also the number of types of armors is terrible. There's 1. Lightweight armor. That's it. And loadout restriction makes it where you still have to carry the basic pistol no matter what. You can't even upgrade it to a better version of the basic pistol. You're stuck with that gun. Which means there are times when I cycle to it and I'm like, I don't need this. I need, this plasma gun that will kill you. Or I need this giant hand cannon. And it annoys me. Yeah. the characters other than your avatar and Jericho are nice to interact with and incredibly well voice acted. Jericho kind of sounds like he phoned it in, and the character you're playing sounds like they're trying too hard. But everyone else has decent voice acting and good direction, so I'm happy with them. Just Jericho's, just the two characters that I have to listen to the most are kind of wow. Whereas the surgeon and the weapon priest, every time you walk up to them, they are a wonderful interaction. Some of the enemies, however, definitely need more voice lines, especially bosses, because hearing the same voice line over and over again for 30 fucking minutes while I try to kill someone who can one-shot me and have to constantly start over is just grating on the nerves. The fighting of basic enemies is, however, actually challenging and actually rewarding and fun. The melee kill animations are there, I guess. I mean, this game tried way too hard to be the Doom Eternal of 40k, and it failed. There are far too few animations for the melee kills. They're great for the first, like, 5 or 6, but after that, they're kind of really repetitive. I think you have a total of 9 animations for melee insta-kills. And they take too long. Yes, they're brutal and visceral, but it overstays its welcome when a kill animation takes 4 and 5 seconds to complete. And all it is me taking a sword, them blocking it with their hand, and me slowly driving it through their face. And it feels kind of cheap because you can activate them so long as the enemy doesn't have a refractor shield. It's not a you have to stun them or you have to do any damage to them. Fresh enemies show up like psychers, and you can just walk up and melee them and instantly kill them. And there's nothing they can do about it. Yeah. That's tedious and just kind of lacks reward. Hired Gun, at the end of the day, is a B game by a B studio by a B publisher. If you're expecting bug-free perfection, extremely gorgeous graphics, and over-the-top voice acting, you're in the wrong house. If you're expecting for $40 a 6 to 10 hour experience with some replayability, decent shooting mechanics, barely there melee mechanics, super cheesy cheating bosses, and voice acting and writing that is just above CS Goto, but nowhere near Dan Abbott, you're in the right place. That's what Hired Gun is. A B-rated game with a AAA rated atmosphere and setting and set design. So make your choice if it's alright with you. I can't say the game is bad, but I also can't say it's good. If you want the top-end shooter of the 40k universe, Warhammer 40k Space Marine is still holding that crown and refuses to give it up after over a decade. If you want something better than Space Hulk that isn't too pricey, that'll last you a weekend, sure. If you want something that has a little bit of Halo, a little bit of Doom Eternal, and a little bit of Borderlands, Hired Gun is just that. I guess what I'm trying to really get across to your head is this game is okay. That's all you should expect from it. It's a better attempt than Space Hulk ever was for this studio. But it's not quite there. And if you were to ask it what I think it should have had another 2 months in the grinder and maybe some more skilled devs to become something truly great. But it doesn't have that. And this is what you're left with. Thanks for watching the review, guys. Up next is a list of patrons who helped make this possible. A big shout out to them. And I'll see you guys tonight for Dungeons & Dragons, where we will find out if we can actually beat up giant automatons or not, because that's where we ended last session. Good night, everybody. Or, well, good afternoon, I guess, when you see this video. It's nighttime for me when I'm making this.